Cold.
You're kidding. Just one shot?
They're not all zombies, Doug. How do you fight this thing?
Maybe we could drown it in A1 sauce.
Well, sometimes that is better. The person you put up there ain't the person that comes back.
It's a dance song to get down with. About 6 feet under. Get down.
Ooh, I love this song.
And now we come to the thrilling final episode of our radio drama.
Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 296 of the Rotten Reviews podcast. Just want to say thank you as always for showing up to another new episode. I appreciate you guys and gals all come back each and every single week to listen to me talk about some movies. For all the returning listeners, I appreciate you and thank you very much. Maybe you have the episodes pre-downloading every time a new one drops. If that's the case, you don't know what we're talking about today. But maybe for those new listeners that decide to look up this movie of all things and decide to come here and listen to me talk about it, hopefully you'll stick around and check out the back catalog of other episodes, because I've done a lot of full moon feature movies on the podcast, and I think you might enjoy a couple of the episodes. But for those that don't know what we're watching today, because if you didn't read the title, maybe you're just going through your podcast while at work and whatnot, we are watching Evil Bong from 2006 today. I feel like I've seen this one before, but I don't remember a damn thing about it, so I can't really tell you for sure if I have or not. It came out in 2006. I actually thought it came out a lot later than that, or earlier than that, I guess. I didn't think it was a 2006 movie. I thought maybe it was a 2002 movie, to be honest with you. What do I know, though? But nonetheless, even though I can't really remember the movie at all, I can't remember a damn thing about the movie, to be honest with you, other than Tommy Chong's in it just for a little bit. I don't even think he's that big of a character in it, to be honest with you guys. I feel like he was one of the big selling points for this movie, too. But, nonetheless, we're going to have a fun episode. I find every episode is a fun episode. I always like to watch these movies, even if I've never seen them before, and always look for a little bit of good in them. I know a lot of people, for the most part, put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into these movies, and I don't want to really shit on stuff just for the sake of shitting on it. So hopefully you guys will enjoy this one as much as I will, or maybe a little bit. But before we do get into the movie at hand, let's do a little bit of housekeeping like we like to do each and every single week.
I don't think you're sleeping.
Housekeeping?
Could you come back in an hour?
Housekeeping, you want towels?
More towels. Need sleepy.
Housekeeping, you want mint for pillow?
Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God.
As always, if you want to help out the podcast this week or next week or any other of the weeks, feel free, whatever podcast platform you're listening on, hit that like button, leave a comment, leave a review if you can, though. You know the thing that helps the most is hitting that share button. Share it on your X account, your Thread account, your Facebook account, wherever you want. Facebook stories, Instagram stories, Snapchat stories, whatever it might be. Just feel free to share it with whoever. Friends, coworkers, family, enemies. Maybe if you want to share it with some people that you don't like, maybe they'll like it. I don't know where I'm going with that one, but maybe they will. But another thing you guys can do, if you're listening on Spotify, feel free to leave a star review, a star rating, whatever they call them. Just leave a star. You can leave 5 stars. 5 stars are cool. Rob Van Dam was one of my favorite wrestlers growing up, and he did the 5-star frog splash. So if you want to leave a 5-star frog splash on this episode, or 5-star bong hit, whatever you might want to say, feel free to do so. If you want to leave a 4-star, that's fine too. Even the 1 star is fine as well. You know, maybe if you're having a bong hit right now, you'll drop your bong. That'd be a shame, huh? Better not leave a 1-star, you bastard. Anyways, that's besides the point, though. If you're on it, iTunes, whatever, feel free to leave a written review if you can. Leave a comment, though. I love hearing from you guys as well. But at the end of the day, the main thing you do is hit that share button. And maybe you want to keep in touch with me. Feel free to do so at following any of my social media accounts. They're all at Typhonsign. Linked down below in the description below. But like I said, at Typhonsign on pretty much any and all social media platforms. X, Threads, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. But the main thing you should definitely check out is the YouTube channel. I drop old episodes of the podcast every single Monday. We drop a new game video every single Wednesday. I've been doing daily shorts as well as community posts. Community posts are usually on this day in horror section that I do also on the Rotten Reviews Instagram page. So go check them out there as well if you feel so kindly to do so. And make sure to share some of the videos on there as well if you feel so kindly to do so. It's pretty cool on YouTube now. We are fully 100% monetized from the long content to the short content. And it feels pretty good, to be honest with you guys. You know, it's not something I'm going to fall back on, but you know, it's cool to see that, you know, I put in enough time and effort that now that's just another avenue to help create some funds to help go towards the podcast, the video game streams, the artwork, all that other fun stuff. And yeah, it feels good, it feels rewarding, and let's keep crushing it, because that's what we're gonna do. We're just going to keep working at it and just keep growing the community. I think we're over 1,000 subs. I think it's like 1,020 or somewhere around there. And yeah, I appreciate everyone who's been checking out the videos, checking out the streams, all that other fun stuff. I appreciate you guys. I mean, if you want to help support me a little bit more, we're still in the housekeeping section. Feel free to check out the TeePublic link site down below if you want to buy some podcast-related merch. We got t-shirts, stickers, hats, shorts. There's a little bit of everything, and there's other designs that aren't podcast related, just some other designs I've done up for the sake of just doing them up and have fun, because that's what my TeePublic site's all about. It's just creating digital artwork that I feel like might be pretty cool to wear around town. But enough about all that stuff. Enough of me trying to sell you some stuff. Let's get back to the movie at hand. Today we are watching Evil Bong. It is from 2006. You can watch it on Plex. You can also watch it on Amazon Prime if you have a subscription. And for the new listeners, I'm just going to let you know now, I'm going to be talking about this movie from start to finish, hit all the points in between. So that means this podcast episode's going to have a lot of spoilers in it. So this is your chance to turn off the episode now, or, you know, just deal with it. And if you get spoiled on something cool, you get spoiled on. But maybe it'll make you want to see the movie even more if I say something cool that's a spoiler. But with that being said, this movie has a 3.9 out of 10 on IMDb, 40% on Rotten Tomatoes, and a 2.2 out of 5 on Letterboxd.ca. Apparently 53% of Google users have enjoyed this movie. The description, as read on IMDb: a group of friends acquire a bong that is possessed by a terrifying demon, but they don't realize it until they start smoking it and begin to imagine things. Or maybe it's true, everything that is happening. This movie is directed by Charles Band. We know Charles fairly well around here, you know, Full Moon Features and whatnot. Best known for being the producer for 1989's Puppet Master, the producer for 1990's Phantoms, the producer for 1992's Dr. Morbid, as well as the producer for 1984's, I almost said 6 for some reason, Trancers. I'm hoping this energy drink kicks in here soon. He was also one of the writers on the movie. Of course he was, because that's just the type of thing he does. But the other writer is Dominic Murr, best known for being the writer for 1995's High Risk, the writer for one of my favorites from 1986, Critters, the writer for 2009's Evil Bong 2, King and Bong, and the writer for 1998's Hitman. We are now going to talk about a couple of the actors in the movie. The first one being David Wiedoff. Might have butchered that last name. But he's playing the character of Alistair. Best known for being in 13 episodes in 2009 of the TV show Roommates. He was also in 2014's Altergeist. He was in one episode Numbers in 2007, episode Castle in 2011, and a bunch of other little roles here and there. Nothing really to talk about too much. He was in an episode of Gilmore Girls, an episode of Crossing Jordan, an episode of Scrubs, and yeah, nothing really to mention that much of. The next character in the movie we're going to talk about is John Patrick Jordan, playing the character of Larnell. He's best known for being Gerald in 2025's The Accountant 2. He was in one episode of Landman in 2024. He was in 5 episodes in 2021 of Them. He was in an episode of Wolfpack in 2023. Seems like he's also done a lot of different various TV shows here and there. NCIS Hawaii. He was in Evil Bong 888 Infinity High in 2022. That's crazy to think that they're still making these goddamn things. He's in an episode of Hawaii 5-0. But like I said, for the most part, all these TV shows he shows up on, just like the last one, they're just a single episode here and there. Nothing too crazy to talk about. So let's check out the next section. Let's see, does this movie have a tagline? It probably does. I would assume it would have a tagline. And the tagline is, dude, it's one scary trip. Clever. I'll let that one be. Apparently trivia. The clock in the stoner's dorm always reads 4:20, dude. Wow, this is gonna be a fun one. It's gonna be a great one. So much stoner humor. Because I like stoner humor. I don't mind it. It's fine. It is what it is. It's dated. It's definitely going to date the movie. That's for sure. But yeah, with that being said, I think we could probably get ready to jump into the movie at hand here in a few seconds. Like I said before, though, if you're a new listener and don't want to be spoiled, this is your last warning. This is your time to turn off the episode. Because I'm going to be talking about this movie from start to finish and hit all the points in between that interest me. So it's going to be a spoiler-heavy episode. But with that being said, if you want to stick around, I appreciate it if you guys did. If you check out the old episodes as well, the back catalog, hopefully you'll find a bunch of good movies as well to watch in there. But with that being said, if you're at home, listen to this. Hopefully you're comfy, relaxed. Maybe after a long day's work, got some snacks, whatever it might be. Maybe you're listening in bed, getting ready to fall asleep. I appreciate it. You're a little bit weird to listen to me to fall asleep to, but that's besides the point. I won't judge you. This is a judgment-free zone, alright? You don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. If you're at work, though, hopefully this helps you get through the day. Hopefully it makes the hours go by a little bit quicker. And I know a lot of you people are listening in the car, going to school, going to work, going to get groceries, whatever it might be. Just keep your eyes on the road. Make sure you get to where you're going nice and safely. And always be aware of everyone around you, because sometimes that could be the issue. You don't really pay attention to people around you, and then they cause the accidents and whatnot. But we don't want any of that crap. We don't want it. Good vibes. Nothing but good vibes. Because we are getting ready to watch a stoner movie. Because why not? So with that being said, let's get started on the movie at hand right now.
Presents Saturday Night at the Movies, the television series which each week brings you the finest in recent motion pictures. Tonight...
Hi everyone, yeah, it's me here. I know usually you're used to listening to the trailer of the movie at this section of the podcast, but guess what? I've had this episode done for like 2 weeks now, or a week and a half I think it is now, and I just got a copyright strike on the Friday before the episode went live, because apparently Danny Elfman has the music in the trailer for Evil Bong. Didn't know he had music really playing in the background. I know there's music in the background of the trailer, but I didn't think it was him, of all people. But that's why the trailer's not playing right now for this episode. So go check it out on YouTube if you want to, or let's just get into the podcast episode at hand and talk about this movie. Of course, the movie's starting out, we got that full moon feature logo coming at us. It's a classic. Doesn't mean it's going to be a good movie. Most likely going to be a bad movie, actually. But it's going to be a fun movie, nonetheless. And then we just jump right into some stoner style music. We see some green smoke coming up on the screen all over the place. The intro credits coming in. It just says Charles Band's Evil Bong. And font style, it's pretty good. It actually goes well with the design and the concept of the movie. So we see the intro credits slowly starting to disappear, and then we see the statue of Jesus on a door or a wall maybe, and he's got a joint in his mouth, and then this nerdy guy is knocking on the door being like, hello, anybody home? Hello guys. So then the door opens up and this other guy's like, hey, are you peeping on us? Are you a narc? He's like, narc, what do you mean? He's like, why are you checking my clothes? He's like, well, I'm just trying to check to make sure you're not a narc, man. I gotta make sure you're not a cop. And I believe this is Alistair and Larnell, actually. Alistair's the nerdy guy, and Larnell is the one checking to make sure he's not a narc. We find out that Alistair is moving in for the first time. I guess he needed a roommate, and this is going to be the new spot he's rooming. And then we find out that there's this other buddy, Bach, who's sleeping on this like cot, but he's underneath a bunch of garbage as well. He's like, hey, my name's Alistair. He's like, hi, dude. How's it going, dude? And then Bachman's like, hey, call me Bachman, like the Greek god who's always ready to get down to the party. And Alistair's like, so you mean Bacchus, actually? It's a Greek god about wine and all this other stuff. He's like, yeah, whatever, dude. I'm too stoned for this shit. And then Alistair wants to go see his room. And then Larnell's like, dude, this is your room. All this space is all relative space. It's all yours, dude. We share it. We all got our own space in the room. And this one guy comes out of the washroom and starts making fun of Alistair, being like, yeah, Revenge on There's 12 call. They're looking for extras. All you're missing is the pocket protector, dude. He's like, well, I just gotta keep my lookout for the ladies. And the guy's like, maybe you should start lifting up some weights. So then he grabs a dumbbell to start lifting. It looks like he's using like a 5-pound dumbbell. Being like, yeah, see these biceps? Big. Chicks dig them. Before I forget, the jock guy who's being all buff and shit, his name is Brett. Brett Hitman Hart. Not really, it's just Brett. And then Brett gets all pissed off because he notices a shell sitting on the shelf with his trophies. And he's like, hey, Bachman, what's this doing here? He's like, oh man, I got that from my trip to Maui, dude. He's like, well, what's it doing on my shelf? He's like, oh dude, it's just sitting there in space, man. It's not doing anything wrong. So then Brett gets all pissed off and smashes it. I guess he's not good at smashing it because then Bachman picks it up and it still looks like it's intact in one piece. Puts it up to his ear. It's like, great, man. I think you broke it. I can't hear the ocean anymore, dude. And then Brett's all pissed off, or depressed, I should say, because he's saying how he used to be a star pitcher. And then they started to piss test everyone. And he had to be kicked off the team because he could never pass a piss test. And then out of nowhere, Larnell pulls out this paperwork and shows it to Bachman, being like, hey, look at this. With Alistair's rent, I got enough money to buy this. So then Bachman starts reading off, and it's this old school bong, the main bong for the movie. The haunted bong, let's say, that's possessed by a demon. And he's going to buy it from some weird, I don't know, thrift shop, pawn shop, or maybe it's just like the old comic books where you can like buy something out of the book, like sea monkeys and shit. I don't know. It just looks like some weird kind of paperwork. Maybe it might be a magazine. Can't really tell. And then Bachman's like, hey, dude, make sure they express mail because we need it sooner rather than later because there's something this place is definitely missing. And it's a killer bong, dude. Then we cut and see Bachman's passed out on his caught maybe. We see Larnell playing some SNES. He's playing some Super Mario World. And then we just see Alistair, who's trying to study, but he's getting a little annoyed because the SNES is too loud. So then Alistair starts complaining to Larnell, being like, you need to understand me, I'm trying to get really good grades, I'm trying to do really good in school, and the music in the game is just way too loud. And then somebody starts knocking on the door, and then Alistair goes to open it, and it's a delivery guy with a giant, like, 4.5 foot box, and he's like, yeah, here's your package, Larnell. And then Larnell actually walks over and be like, what's in the box, dude? What's in the package? He's like, us surface workers, we can't look in the package. So, and the delivery guy is kind of weird. He's like, it's the item you've been waiting for, of course. So we find out Larnell's a little bit broke and doesn't have enough money to, I don't know, tip the delivery guy or maybe pay off the rest of the bill or whatever it might be. So he gets money from Alistair for it. And then we see Larnell carrying that box over to the couch to unbox it. And then Brett shows up being like, dude, you fronting him more money? He's actually a millionaire. His dad's actually freaking rich. And you're supposed to be the smart one. So stop giving the idiot some money. So Larnell gets the bong out of the box. It's nice bluish color. You can tell it's kind of got like a face on it. It looks kind of weird. He's got it on the coffee table. And then Brett and Alistair sit down on the couch. And Brett's like, it looks like shit, dude. He's like, told you guys can. And Alistair's like, yeah, I gotta agree with him. It was a scam. And then we see them all using the bong, getting stoned. Of course, Alistair's not using it because he's the nerd character and doesn't want to partake at all. And Brett's like, wow, this set is supposed to be amazing high. You definitely got ripped off because this sucks. And Larnell's like, what are you talking about? This is the best high ever. And then Bachman's just stoned all the time because he's like, this is really great. Larnell's trying to get Bachman to take another hit, but he's like, no, man, I can't. I am tapped out right now, dude. And Larnell's like, this bong is so awesome. So awesome to the point that it can only sit one spot in the house. So then he moves a bunch of Brett's trophies out of the way and puts it right in the smack dab in the middle of the trophy case, essentially. It's not really a trophy case, it's just like a filing cabinet that they got trophies on top of. But Brett's not too happy about it. He's like, man, you can't have that stupid thing around my trophies. It's going to bring down the value of them. He's like, man, you can't control the bong. The bong needs to go where the bong deserves to go. We see everyone's asleep in the apartment now, and for some reason Larnell's sleeping with a bobblehead on his chest. But anyways, the bong actually starts to glow and starts making some, random sounds here and there. And it's trying to, I assume, wake up one of the guys. Apparently it's just starting to wake up again, and it's craving more human air, I guess you could say, more human contact. Alistair's the first one to wake up, and he's all confused. He doesn't have his glasses on. He's looking over at the bong, and he can hear it rumbling a little bit. He can see it lighting up a little bit. He gets his glasses on, stumbles over to the display case, and then it goes back to normal. He's all confused. And then we just jump to 24 hours later. So we now see Bachman taking a hit off of the bong like he always would, and Larnell's getting a little annoyed, being like, hey dude, you've already done like 3 times the amount I've done. You need to calm it down. You need to do it in moderation. And Bachman just kind of like slopes into the couch and just kind of disappears. And then Brett shows up with 2 girls. One is Luann, I guess his girlfriend, and her like preppy good twos friend who would definitely be a match for Alistair because she's the same style character, where Luann is like the cheerleader slutty style by the looks of it, at least. And at one point in time it seems like Larnell's trying to get with Janet, and Janet has nothing or wants nothing to do with him. It's like, I understand that. It's definitely we're working on some communications between the sexes. Definitely, it's fine. Let's all just sit down for some brewskis. And then, surprisingly enough, Alistair is smart enough or brave enough to go talk to Janet, and they start talking about different school programs and what courses they're in and all this other crap. And they kind of got a little bond going together already. And for some reason, he was doing dishes beforehand, so I understand. I'm not sure how or understand how he does this, but from doing the dishes, he's got so much soap all over his crotch, and the girls are laughing at him the whole time while he's talking to them. And he just realizes, being like, wow, how did I get all that soap down there, huh? And then, like, the 2 girls are getting ready to go, but then Larnell pops up being like, you 2 ladies should stay and do another hit. And they look over at the bong, and they go, like, ew, that's such a redneck-looking bong, so gross. I would never want to do anything with that bong. That's definitely way below our standards. And then the girls just decide to leave. And Brett's, of course, going with them. And as they're walking out the door, we hear the bong say, bitch. And then Lana or Luann or whatever her name is comes back and be like, who just called me a bitch? What just said? Which one of you stupid son of a bitch just called me a bitch? And Larnell's like, I don't know, maybe it was Bachman. And Bachman's like completely out of it on the couch, being like, oh, I can't move. It's later that night by the looks of it, and we just see Bachman still stoned out of his mind, sitting on the couch, and the bong starts talking to him and saying how he's hers. And then we see like smoke coming out of his mouth, which I assume is supposed to be his spirit leaving his body. And then next thing we know, we're looking inside the bong, and we just are in the middle of a strip club, and Bachman's walking through it. And then we hear someone talking, I'm assuming it might be the voice of the bong, being like, welcome, have a nice seat, we have some nice boobs to look at, they're all for you just to look at, so just have a seat and enjoy the show. So while he's in the strip club, he's met with a club patron who's played by Phil Fondacaro, I believe is the way to pronounce his last name. He was Valkyr in Willow from 1988, as well in 1983 in Star Wars Episode 6. He was an Ewok, as well as the Creeper in Black Cauldron, among other things. He's like, you need to be aware of your surroundings. I know a lot about the creatures of the night, and you just need to be aware. And Bachman doesn't care at all. He's just too stoned. Anyways, the stripper comes over to him, and next thing you know, the stripper is like eating at his neck. And then we cut back to the little guy being like, oh, that's nasty. So then we see it's the next day, and we see Brett coming back from his party they had with the ladies last night. And Alistair's pouring a bowl of cereal for herself that looks like Lucky Charms, but it doesn't look like the font actually says Lucky Charms. I'm not really too sure. But anyways, it's definitely the same color system and everything. Anyways, Brett's like, hey, pour me a bowl. I'm going to eat some cereal because I'm really hungry. And he just literally eats Alistair's cereal, being like, if you keep your head out of this book, you could have fun. And Brett's trying to wake up Larnell, who's just crashed out on the recliner chair, being like, what are you doing? Why are you bothering me? And then Brett goes to wake up Bachman on the couch and kicks him a couple times. And he's like, whoa, dude, is he been crashed out on the couch all night? What's going on? He's not waking up at all. And then Larnell looks over at the bong, which looks a little bit different. It's got a little bit more detail in the face. And he's like, whoa, dude, does my bong look a little bit different? And then we have Alistair trying to wake up Bachman, and they checks his pulse. And he's like, oh my god, he's expired. And Brett's like, what do you mean? He's like, he's no longer alive. He's dead. And then Larnell starts freaking out, being like, come on, dude, you only took like 20 hits. Come on, you gotta do something, dude. And then Alistair, being the goody two-shoes that he is, he goes to call the cops to let them know about a dead person being in the apartment. And of course, Brett grabs him and hangs up the phone because he's like, dude, we got so much weed coming out our ass around here. We cannot bring the cops here because that's going to be a lot of issues for us. And Brett's like, so, Bachman's parents live in that little white picket house neighborhood, everything's cool and whatnot. And Larnell's like, yeah, I remember playing pitch with him in the backyard the whole time. He's like, all right, well, we wait till nighttime. We go over there, we drop his body on the curb and just drive away like nothing ever happened. Now it's just like, no, we can't be doing that. That's what mobsters do. We're not mobsters at all. And then we hear someone knocking at the door, and they're like, oh my god, it's the cops already. So Alistair looks out, and he's like, it's an older guy with a wheelchair. And Larnell's like, holy shit, it's my grandfather. Let's be quiet, and maybe he won't hear us, and he'll just go away. And then the old guy's like, Larnell, I hear you in there, you stupid shit. Let me in. So then as Alistair's trying to distract at the door, Larnell and Brett push Bachman onto his bed and cover him up with blankets and throw a bunch of pillows on him, being like, hey, he's just going to stay there and we're going to be fine. Nobody's ever going to know. And then the grandfather comes in being like, all right, you idiots, I just came to check in on things. Oh, where's the surfer, dude? And Larnell's like, he just took off, moved middle of the night. We're kind of sad about it. He's like, well, he was useless anyway, so it's fine. Also, who's the smart-looking guy? So then we find out that the grandfather's actually there because he just wants to show off the new grandmother because she's a looker, she's hot. Apparently everyone at the lodge wanted to crack her. So then Larnell's like, well, where is she? Grandpa's like, she's just parking the car and then she'll be up. She's a real looker. So then Larnell makes a joke about the new grandmother, and then Cy, the grandfather, makes Larnell feel like a piece of shit, being like, you useless enema bag, you can't be thinking about your new grandmother like that. And then Brett's like, well, where'd you meet her? He's like, well, I was expecting some of my gyms I own downtown, and I saw her on that racquetball court, and she was whacking those balls, and I knew those could be my balls getting whacked. Anyways, then we see the new grandmother walking in, and we expect to see a hot bombshell. But this grandma is a grandmother, and she's like walking over crooked because she can't stand up straight. And everyone's like, that's your new wife. So then I was just like, would you like some tea? And she doesn't even acknowledge him at all. I was just like, she a little deaf? He's like, well, she's a little Spanish. She's a little bit out there. Don't worry about it. And apparently Rose is the new grandmother's name, and she's on the couch, and she's hunched over now, getting ready to fall asleep. And Sai's like, well, I'm going to go take a dump, and I know Rose just got here, but guess what? We're going to leave after I'm done taking a shit. So then we see Grandpa's gone, and the guys are just sitting in the living room. And Larnell's like, hey, where's my bong? Where did it go? And apparently it was behind the couch. He's like, hey, you can't be putting my bong behind the couch, guys. We gotta treat it with a little bit more respect and dignity, okay? It's not just an item. It's part of the family now. And then Alistair starts freaking out a little bit. He's like, what are we going to do about Bachman? He's dead. And, maybe it's the weed. Maybe it's the weed that's bad. Maybe the weed's going to be killing you guys. It's not going to kill me because I'm not doing it, but maybe it's the weed's the problem. And then Brett is trying to convince Alistair to come with him to go get with Janet because Brett's going to be off with Luann, and apparently he's got a chance to get with Janet if he really wants to. And he's like, she doesn't even know that I'm alive. She's like, what are you talking about? She was just talking to you yesterday. And so what? You have soap all over your crotch. It's no big deal. And then Brett's like, you and Janet had a lot in common. And I was just like, she did kind of seem kind of intelligent, to be honest with you. He's like, yeah, so you're going to get late tonight, so let's get the dead guy downstairs now so we don't have to worry about him. All right? Then we see Larnell sitting in a chair, and he's just smoking a joint. And then the Bong starts talking to him. He's like, wow, this stuff is really good. And the Bong's calling him closer. And he's like, you got it, baby. I will come as close to you as I personally can. And then the Bong, starts telling him to take her. It's weird. And of course, with every take that he takes from the Bong, it gets him, closer to having a soul ripped out of his body, I guess. Because apparently all the demon does, or the demon Bong, it brings everyone to the same strip club as the looks of it, because we're now at the same strip club where Bachman died. And Bachman's actually at said strip club, and Larnell's walking around it, and doesn't even notice him there on the couch. Alright, so he doesn't notice him at first, and then he's like, dude, I thought you were dead. He's like, dude, you're here. What are you doing in my dream? And then we see the Evil Bong appearing, and she's like, Larnell, we got everything you want here. And he's like, alright, you prove it then. Let's change this tune to rock and roll. And then we have some rock and roll music as the girls dance around the stripper poles. So then as Larnell is staring at the strippers and watching them dance on the pole, we hear this very familiar voice. And of course, out of nowhere, we see the ginger dead man appearing. And he's like, oh, I'm going to cream to these girls. And then Cy, the grandpa, shows up. And he's like, oh, man, you're really, you're wrecking my vibe, dude. This was a great dream. And everything was going great. And now your old ass is showing up. And I don't want to deal with the Gramps. So this one stripper kind of lures Larnell in, and she takes off her jacket, shirt thing, whatever she had on, and we see a bikini top, and it's got Jaws sharks on the boobs, and then the Jaws kind of rip-off theme comes up, and Larnell's filling up her tits, and then next thing you know, the shark just starts eating his hand, and next thing you know, we see the two girls showing up at the apartment, and they don't realize that Larnell is dead in the chair. And, Brett's greeting them at the door, and Alistair's there, and they're all dressed up. And, no one really realizes that Larnell's just dead in the chair. And then we see the double date, and they're sitting around the couch, and they're playing some game. I think it's Trivia Pursuit by the looks of it. I can't really tell, though. And the Evil Bong is, with the back facing towards them, and we have a zoom in on their face, and we can tell the Bong's not really too happy. But then we just cut back to them playing the board game. And of course, shocking, the winners are Alistair and Janet, because, they got brains and the other two really don't, so there's no real shocker there. So then everyone decides to have some fun with the Bong. And Alistair's kind of just staring, looking around, being like, well, you guys are doing that, I guess I'll just be like, I'm cool, I'm good. I don't want to kill my brain cells, Then out of nowhere, Luann's all horny, I guess. Smoking weed really does it to her. And Brett's too stoned. He's like, I don't do it when I'm stoned. You got calm down. Go away. Shoot. Get skedaddle. And he's falling asleep. And she's doing all these weird moves and making all these weird sounds to try to wake him up. And it's not working at all. And then she's like, I know the best thing to make you horny and turn you on. And she grabs a pogo stick and starts riding the goddamn pogo stick, assuming that it's going to wake Brett up. But he's still out cold. And of course, while that whole thing was going on, we have Alistair and Janet just sitting on the other couch watching, all confused, not sure what to do. And then out of nowhere, Janet just starts making all these moves on Alistair, and he's like, wow, I wasn't really expecting to see this side of you, Janet. She's like, well, when I get high, my walls all just come down, and I just want to fuck. And then as Janet's getting all close to him, Alistair looks over at Larnell, and he looks all confused, and then he goes to check on Larnell, and he's like, wow, he's dead, just like Bachman. And then Janet's like, what do you mean dead like Bachman? It's like, it's a long story. And then Alistair's looking at the Bong again, and he's like, hey, the Bong's changed again. The Bong changed when Bachman died, and now that Larnell's died, it's changed again. And Janet's like, well, that doesn't make sense at all. He's like, well, I know it doesn't make sense. And then I was just like, so when Larnell bought this bong, it did warn about, some bad side effects. And clearly it's not talking about bad drugs. It's talking about, death side effects from the bong. And then Janet's like, well, I did smoke from it too, so I'm a little bit worried. And Hollister looks over and we still see Brett and now Luann are pretty much knocked out cold on the chair together, and the bong starts lighting up again and starts to laugh. And of course now we see the two of them in the strip club, and Brett and Luann are just walking around being like, so how high are we right now? And of course Luann's not concerned with the strippers at all, but she sees this box which she thinks is full of makeup and goes to open it, and then a jack-o'-lantern like character thingy pops out, whatever, Jack in the Box pops out, and I'm assuming that's a reference to maybe Killjoys or Puppet Master. I'm not really too sure. I haven't seen Killjoys. I think that's a full feature film. Anyways, then the bouncer shows up and just carries Luann away, and that leaves Brett alone with some strippers. And of course, the stripper that he's getting down with, or going to get down with soon, is apparently a girl that he was with at one point in time that he was supposed to call back, but never called back because he got busy. And he's like, wow, you really did fill out. You look really nice, to be honest with you. I'm sorry I got busy, though. I wasn't trying to be an asshole or anything. And then she takes off her little jacket thing, and on her bras, we see red kissy lips. And then, of course, she kills him because apparently earlier in the movie, he was saying that her head game was about the equivalent of a school of piranhas going down on a goat or something along those lines. And of course, those two are now dead, and then we hear the bong talking, and Janet's like, I know I'm stoned, but did you hear the bong talk? And I was just like, I did hear it, and I know I'm not stoned, so I'm not sure what's going on. And then, of course, Janet then stumbles over to the couch and starts to pass out. And then Alistair's trying to wake her up, being like, what did you do, Bong? He's like, it's not what I did. It's what I'm about to do. And then Tommy Chong just walks through the door and be like, oh, man, I've been looking all over for you, Bong. Where you been? I've been searching all over the whole world for you. Then I was just like, the ad in the magazine said that the owner was deceased. And Tommy Chong's like, that's my wife, dude. Wishful thinking on her part, I guess. And then we find out that the bong was in storage the whole time, along with his Hot Wheels collection, and his wife sold it all on him. And then I was just like, how do we stop the bong? He's like, you can't stop the bong. And Tommy's like, so the guy who sold me the bong said it had a voodoo curse on it. And I thought he was just trying to, up the sell, but, it killed all my friends, and it almost killed me, dude. So then Alistair's wondering how to get Janet back because she's already inside the bong. And Tommy's like, I was inside the bong and you never come back from being inside the bong. It just that's happened. And, actually it happened to me. I came back, but I'm a rare exception. And then Alistair's like, well, I need to go in. I need to save her. He's like, well, that's pretty brave of you, dude. You probably won't come back, though. So Alistair takes his first hit out the bong. And Alistair's like, I don't feel any. And then he just passes it right out. And then we see the bong talking to Tommy. And she's trying to make him take a hit. He's like, no, I didn't come here to get high. I actually came here with a bag and a hammer, and I'm going to take you out, bitch. And then we see in the bong world, in the strip club, we see Alistair going to talk to the bong. And she's like, come on, Alistair, you need to relax. And then all the strippers are all over him. He's like, I will not stand. Oh, hi, ladies. Anyways, Tommy's trying to fight out the bong and trying to hit it with the hammer, but nothing's happening, and the bong's just laughing at him. So then out of nowhere, he just pulls out a chainsaw, and she's like, oh, no. But he's taking the chainsaw at the bong, and it's got like a force field built around it because it's still not taking any damage. And then Alistair gets away from the strippers because they keep calling him Al. He's like, it's Alistair. And then he talks to this another person in the bar, which I'm assuming is based off of Doll Man. I haven't seen that movie either, but I'm assuming this movie is just full of parodies or cameos of other full moon features. And then Alistair goes to save Janet, and Janet is in a stripper cage with a male stripper, and the guy's like, hey, dude, just calm down. I will dance with you next. Don't worry about it. Now it's just, hey, no, I'm a red-blooded American man. I am not dancing with you. I'm here to save the lady. And then we see Tommy Chong, Jimbo, still fighting the bong. Chainsaw's not doing anything, and the bong's laughing and being like, I told you it wasn't going to work. And then he's like, well, I guess we're going to take it up a notch. And he pulls out a stick of dynamite, and the bong's like, oh, no, that's not good. And then the bong just starts releasing some weed smoke from the top of it. And he's like, oh, man, dude, that's some real good shit. What am I doing with dynamite? And then we see Alistair trying to escape with Janet, and he bumps into, of all people, Bill Moseley, of all people. He's like, hey, watch the suit, dude. Don't be knocking the suit. And he's pulling off this accent, and then he's like, hey, actually, to be honest with you, I have no idea what I'm doing here. By the way, Alistair, if you find a way out, can you let me know so I can get the hell out of the strip club, too? I don't even know how long I've been here. And then Alistair gets on this big rant with the Bong, saying how this is America, this is the land of the free, you're just some ganja dictator, and I stand for the right, and I will stand for everybody else, and all this other crap. So then Alistair gives Janet some pills that Jimbo, Tommy Chong's character, gave him before going into the Bong, and she's finally coming back to her senses and not being stoned. And Alistair's like, hey, so I've seen that the effects of the weed's wearing off, we should be able to kill her soon. And then Jimbo appears being like, oh man, she got me. Yep, she definitely got me. Now I'm stuck in here too. Well, that sucks. So then Jimbo's like, I'm going to get you, you little bitch, and walks over to Evil Bong. She's like, I'll fight you with my hands tied behind my back. You know you can't take me. He's like, yeah, well, that's true. And opens up his shirt, and he's got dynamite taped to his chest, being like, take this and smoke it in your pipe. And then we just see a big explosion going off, and then Alistair and Janet are waking up on the couch. And then we see everyone else slowly starting to wake up because the Bong blew up inside the dream, everyone got their souls back. And then Bachman walks into the front room. Be like, dudes, I just woke up in the basement underneath a pile of trash. What was I doing last night? Then we come back to inside the Bong, and we see Jimbo. He's got some like black char on his face and his chest, and he's sitting on the throne with a bunch of strippers around. And apparently they're like, this is all yours. He's like, oh, really? Oh, shit. He's like, oh, wow, what do I want next? And then he's like, I want you girls to play with my Hot Wheels. And he's got his Hot Wheels collection back. And he's giving it to the strippers and using a couple of the Hot Wheels on some boobs as well. Because, well, why not? And then that's the end of the movie. The outro credits start to roll. And I gotta say, it was definitely a unique one. I do remember parts of it. I don't remember all of it by any means at all. It's one of those very forgivable movies. But it's a full moon movie. So what more do you expect? I enjoyed the cast in this one. I wish Tommy Chong was in it a little bit more, but he does play a fun character near the end of the movie, of course. I wish the Bong had a little bit more animation to it, but it is what it is, You can't really expect too much. But on the rotten scale of 10, I'm going to give this one a solid 5. I thought it had good moments in it. Nothing great, nothing spectacular, but not horrible by any means. Which I never expected to say that about an Evil Bong movie. I didn't think I was going to enjoy this one at all, but, the first one's probably the best one. All the other ones probably suck. Will I watch the other ones? Maybe. We'll see. But that brings us to a point in time where we got to pick what we're watching next week. I was going to do another horror movie next week, but I actually want to do an action movie just because this one just caught my attention. And it's on Tubi. It's from 1985. It's got an hour and 27-minute runtime. It's called Thunder Run. The description as read on Tubi. In this action classic, a truck driver hauling a big rig full of plutonium gets plunged into the wild chase when it catches the eye of terrorists. There's a video game out now that's kind of based around this, not with the terrorist side of things, but you're driving a truck full of plutonium, and if you take a wrong turn or hit a bump or whatever, your truck can pretty much blow up and it's game over. I haven't played the game. I've seen some other streamers play it, so it's interesting, but I believe this movie is the premise and the basis off of that video game, so I'm very much curious to watch this one. I've heard talks about it before, and I've never had the chance, so it just popped up on my home screen on Tubi, so we're going to be watching that one next week. So if you want to watch it ahead of time, feel free to do so over on Tubi. Great app. I highly recommend you guys check it out. I'm always a fan of Tubi. But with that being said, make sure to check out the outro band, Toronto-based horror band Blood Opera. If you're listening to this on Spotify, they are directly linked to the episode in each episode going forward. If not, find them on Amazon Music, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Pretty much anywhere you can find music, they are there. And as always, make sure to check out all my social media links down below. Follow me on all social media accounts at Typhonstein. Make sure to check out that YouTube channel where you can check out old episodes of podcasts, weekly game video, live streams, daily shorts, community posts, and hours upon hours of free content. So definitely go check it out. Want to help support the podcast a little bit? Make sure to share the podcast episodes, leave a like, leave a comment, all that other fun stuff. If you want to help
buy some merch and support some future episodes, go check out the TeePublic link site down below. Buy some podcast merch or some other artwork over there as well. Until next time, I'll talk to you guys all later. Peace.
I am the whisper in the classroom, the writing on the wall. What's blood for, if not for the shedding?
You used to play that childhood game, didn't you? The one where we chant his name. Was it true? Staring in the mirror, I can say, come to me. I can hear him calling back to me. Be my victim, Candyman, going to say his name again. And then he will appear, my whole world disappear. Candyman, Candyman. Was it for real this time, or a dream? Was it